Hyvää päivää tai hyvää iltaa kaikille kuuntelijoille ympäri maailmaa. Tervetuloa Finlandia Foundation Nationalin puolesta Sauna-viikon 2024. On hienoa, että olette kaikki täällä keskustelemassa yhdessä suosikkiaiheistamme saunasta. God dag eller god kväll till alla lyssnare runt om i världen. På uppdrag av Finlandia Foundation National, välkomna till Bastuveckan 2024, eller ska vi säga istället saunavecka. Det är fantastiskt att ha er alla här för att diskutera ett av våra favoritämnen, sauna. Hello to everybody tuning in from around the world. On behalf of Finlandia Foundation National, welcome to Sauna Week 2024. It's great to have you all here to talk about one of our favorite topics, sauna. My name is Tommy Flanagan, and I'm the Executive Director of Finlandia Foundation National, and we're thrilled to be offering programming all about sauna for the third year in a row. FFN has declared the last week in February National Sauna Week, and we think it's beginning to catch on. Both the Michigan State Legislature and the City of San Diego, for example, have proclaimed National Sauna Week. And this panel today will highlight not only a Finnish national view on sauna and bathing culture, but an international one entitled America Doesn't Have a Sauna Culture, Myth or Reality. I'm so excited for this excellent panel of bathing culture experts. So without further ado, let's get this thing started, and I would like to introduce a member of our Young Leaders Board, Lexi Brewer. She lives in Tacoma, Washington, and serves as the Director of Sustainability at the University of Puget Sound. So, Lexi, take it away. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Tommy, and thank you everyone for being here. As Tommy said, I am Lexi. I am one of the newer members of the Young Leaders Board. The Young Leaders Board is an initiative of the Finlandia Foundation National to tap into the interest and talent pool of a younger generation of people interested in Finland from across the United States. I should note you do not need to be of Finnish descent to serve on the Young Leaders Board. The main goal of the board is to create and foster a network of young people interested in Finland. You can follow this work and get connected to the Young Leaders Board through the About section of the Finlandia Foundation website, and I'll also put it in the chat below. And now it is my extreme pleasure to introduce our moderator for this panel event, Adam Bamba Tanaka, to guide us through this unique and interesting conversation. So a little about Adam. Adam has dedicated his career to bringing greater joy and inclusion to the urban environment. He currently serves as the Chief Operating Officer for Therme Group US, coordinating strategic planning, business operations, and pre-development for Therme Group's US market entry. For over 20 years, Therme Group has combined historic traditions of thermal bathing, like sauna, with nature, technology, and culture, to deliver the world's most advanced well-being destinations. Prior to joining Therme Group, Adam worked at real estate consultancy HR&A Advisors, where he advised city governments, universities, and technology companies on major planning and development projects. Adam also serves on the board of Playground NYC, a nonprofit that operates New York City's only adventure playground and is committed to transforming the city through play. Adam has taught courses on urban innovation and real estate at Harvard and Columbia, and holds a PhD in urban planning from Harvard. And if you don't already, I highly recommend you follow his bathing adventures on his very delightful Instagram, which you can find at @abathingadam. And with that, Adam, thank you.
Thank you so much, Lexi, for that extremely generous introduction, and Tommy, for the opportunity to contribute to this fantastic program you've put together for National Sauna Week, which I should say I'm deliberately pronouncing sauna, not sauna, because what's brought us here today is to discuss, does America have a sauna culture? So I want to use the American pronunciation, not the traditional pronunciation, but Justin or others may choose to use the traditional pronunciation. Let's see. So I wish we could all be having this conversation together, sitting on a sauna bench. I believe Jennifer is actually sitting in a sauna, which is great. But the Zoom mosaic will have to do for today, or a virtual sauna, as you can see here. So let me tell you a little bit about how today's going to work. First, I'm going to ask our lineup of sauna superstars to briefly introduce themselves and their work. I'll also tell you a little bit about my own work with Therme. Then we're going to open up into a broader discussion, and then we will save some time at the end for questions from all of you and amazing to see, you know, all the different places that people are dialing in from across the country and beyond. But before we start, I want to ask you all a quick question. Let's see if the technology here is going to comply. Oh, where did it go? I'm just looking for the poll. Here we go. So you should all get a poll in a moment that will ask you a simple question. Does America have a sauna culture? And we want everyone's input on this. So please go ahead and share your thoughts. Oh, wow, we're already neck and neck here. This is a heated topic. I'll give 10 more seconds for everyone to answer. Already got 50 responses. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wow, this is amazing. Can everyone see the results here? This shows that we certainly have a topic to debate here. We are neck and neck with America having a sauna culture coming right out in the lead here. So let's see where we end up at the end of the hour. Very interesting. Okay, so now I'm going to introduce our panelists, and we're going to travel from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast over the next 10 minutes or so. So first, I'd like to introduce Jennifer Lin, who's dialing in from a place we don't usually or always associate with wellness, the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas. Jennifer has delivered some of the most creative and cutting-edge spa projects in Vegas, including at Resorts World, the amazing Awana Spa, which I visited with Jennifer last year, and the recently opened Fontainebleau Spa. And what I love about Jennifer's work is how it blends European-style sauna, which I know she researched firsthand, with the flair and theatricality of the Vegas Strip. Jennifer, let me pull up your slides and please take it away.
Okay, perfect. Yes, so as Adam said, my name is Jennifer Lin, and I am the Director of Spa and Wellness here at Fontainebleau, the newly opened Fontainebleau, Las Vegas. And I am a professional spa girl, as I like to say. And I've had a career of 25 plus years designing, developing, launching different spas around the US and around the world, having worked for Mandarin Oriental for 10 years. And so this is such an amazing opportunity because I've been around the world and I've seen a lot of different spas and I've seen a lot of different cultures, but somehow along my 25 years, I missed the sauna culture until 2021. And that's when we opened the Awana Spa and Wellness at Resorts World. This was my first blush at a true sauna culture, because I think for Americans, many of us thought this is just the heated wooden box we go into, we sweat, and didn't really understand the history and the culture and the tradition that came behind it, at least from my perspective. And so when we were opening the Awana Spa and Wellness at Resorts World, we knew we wanted to do something very different and blending this these traditions in a very modern way. And so this is where we launched the first Aufguss in Las Vegas. And if you want to flip through there, we did a beautiful layout. Many of the spas in Las Vegas are separate men's and women's side, and there the two shall meet. So for us, this was a great opportunity to bring together a co-ed bathing facility, which started with the Fountain of Youth, as we call that there. And then it had 4 different temperatured pools. But the next slide is really about the sauna and bringing the Aufguss to Las Vegas. So this was 2021. We were under quarantine and I was unable to find the expertise from Europe to come and help us. So I went down a deep hole and studied all I could find on the internet about Aufguss, and had to launch my spa without any professional experience or support from anybody. So I brought a Vegas element to it and introduced the Aufguss using dancers that are in some of the amazing Cirque du Soleil shows that are around the city. They had a nice wellness background, but I knew that they needed to have a strong presence and be able to entertain, if you will, the guest. Plus, we were right in the middle of Las Vegas. So we launched our off-goose with some dancers and some very basic towel waving moves, some different props, and very little knowledge of the history and the culture behind it. And then I was able, once we opened the gates, if you will, Rob Keizer is my sauna guru, and he's from the Netherlands. He's a 3-time world champion in the world off-goose, and he is my guru, and he came out and helped us to get everything set up and started and start really training the towel waving skills for the off-goose meisters. And that was my first stab at that. And then we came to Lapis Spa and Wellness at Fontainebleau. It opened in December. And this is our beautiful co-ed bathing space, once again, that sits in between the men's and women's spa. We have a vitality pool. We have the cold plunge. But what we have is this beautiful sauna where we've introduced, now that I actually know what I'm doing, we introduced a lot more elements to it. You can see the shape of the sauna is much more conducive. There's more room for towel waving. And then we put a 110-inch LCD screen into the sauna so that we could entertain at a greater level as well. And then when the sauna is not in use and we have open sauna, we actually leave the video on. It's slow moving nature scenes. The music complements it very nicely. And it definitely fits into our Las Vegas, being the entertainment capital of the world, is now, I'm saying, the sauna capital of the world.
Amazing. Thank you, Jennifer. That was great. Okay, now we're going to hop over to Duluth, Minnesota, which our next panelist, Justin Juntunen, has described to me as the sauna capital of America. So hopefully we can at least debate that. Justin is the founder and CEO of Cedar and Stone Sauna, where he designs, builds, and operates authentic sauna, or as he might say it, sauna experiences. And Justin has really been spreading the gospel of true sauna through podcasts, through videos, through social media, even through a sauna business incubator. So Justin, please tell us more about all the amazing stuff you're up to.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. What an honor to be here with everybody today. I do say that word the way that my great-great-great-grandpa said it, the way that he got off the boat. So I happen to say sauna. But I will never reprimand people. I know there might be some folks cringing on the other side there. We're committed to getting 1 million people over the next 10 years into and enjoying sauna and building more resilient lives. Folks that, sort of see that might be used to the little saunas on the lakeside cabins. We also built one this year on a boat. We have a floating sauna here in Duluth, Minnesota. We invite people to cold plunge and enjoy it. My slides are all about people. They're about people enjoying building. That guy just jumped in cold water. And we have launched experiences all over the country. So when we're asking this question, where does it go? Where do we do this? How does it work? They're actually popping up all over the place. And you're hearing from the heavy hitters with Jennifer and Leo here, who've got big, huge spaces. And I am going to come in and say also, in these little spots, and these little necks in the woods, there are people that are discovering sauna in new ways and both innovating on the tradition and honoring the tradition. This one's right here in Minnesota at a forest bathing retreat center that we built for. And we've done this for folks all over the country. So our team is committed to doing the design and build outs. I don't know, Jennifer, if I have yet been called a sauna guru like you found in the Netherlands, but all I'm saying is I love it and we want to get it to people at the highest levels from all over. So that's what I'm excited to talk about today, Adam. Thanks for having me. I hope those are some pretty pictures in the background for people to see and enjoy. And come to Minnesota, you guys. Duluth's the sauna capital of North America. We got the history to prove it, and I'm willing to fight people on it. So let's go. Come on by. We'll be happy to host you.
Thanks so much, Justin. I feel like soon we're going to be in like a cold plunge competition or something. So let's see where this ends up. Okay, from Minnesota, we're going to jump over to Brooklyn, New York, and meet Leo Khanin, who brings a diverse background in architecture, in design, and even in experimental theater to the world of spa and sauna. Leo is the design mastermind behind the hottest new spot on New York's wellness circuit called World Spa, which draws inspiration from bathing cultures around the world, and I believe was based on what sounded like a few nice trips around the world to visit some of those saunas in person. Leo, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here and talk to you. So let me quickly show what World Spa is, and you can jump to the next slide. It shows some of the facade of the building. It used to be just a parking lot in the middle of Brooklyn, and it became like a destination spa, we call it, 50,000 square feet. And it's on this slide, you see some public spaces. Basically, it took us about 6 years, 2 years of research, and 4 years of actually in construction and going through all the authorities. So it's the main concept of this, and you see on when you look at the facade is this big heavy wall made of concrete, and there is a sort of like a gap in between the slots, and you entering this portal and going to the world of sort of pleasures and different kind of saunas. We have more than 16 different cabins representing different cultures. So it's all about journeys. We traveled for 2 years and still traveling and still researching. So this is the slide that shows sort of the combination of saunas and banyas. And the difference is really like, I think a lot of people with the from Finland will say it's sort of the same. Well, Eastern European crowd will say like, yeah, banya has more humidity. You see different kind of finishes. Actually, the interesting thing about all the 4 cabins that you see they were all built in Eastern Europe. And they were all, you see a variety of different stones, different materials like callow on the walls, juniper, abash, and other kind of woods. In the heaters, we use very special stones, and the heaters themselves are from Germany and other parts of the world as well. So we can switch to the next slide. Here you see one of our event saunas. We have our version of August, or we don't use the towels much, but we're trying to. We have the hand fans and the whole team of guys who studied how to do that in a very special way. But in order to see that, you can visit our website or better visit. So here you also see the Clan Hay sauna, which is made from 20 inches thick, 3 layers of clay mixed with hay. Interesting inside. I had to bring the clay all the way from Europe because I wasn't able to find the right one. And the hay I found in Pennsylvania, so it's a mixture of stuff. And yes, and the next thing is you see this a variety of hammams, which I know not exactly a part of the sauna discussion, but they are part of our offering. So you see the Moroccan to the left and Turkish to the right, and the special rooms for treatments where our guests can have different kind of scrubbings and stuff. Think more of public spaces, showers, and pools. We even have a Japanese onsen sort of pavilion, which is very popular. And you see those deers to the right, lower right. This is experiential showers where you can pull down the rope and get like 60 liters of cold water on you, which sometimes is not exactly, it is a necessity. And the pools are a combination of different hammams and different massages, and also the jacuzzi on the side as well. So that is pretty much in images, and I think I'm again happy to join, and would be interested to answer any questions, if you will.
Thank you so much, Leo. So before I open it up, I just wanted to tell you all a little bit more about Therme and what our vision is with Therme US. So Therme has been around for about 20 years, and we operate some of the largest sauna and bathing facilities in the world. Currently, our facilities are in Europe. Our smallest is about 300,000 square feet. Our biggest about 700,000 square feet. So these are sauna and bathing experiences on the scale of infrastructure, something like the ancient Roman baths. And here's an image of one of my favorite of our saunas. It's called the Amazon sauna in our Bucharest project, where you can also look out, as you're sweating onto the tree canopy of this incredible indoor botanical environment that we've created, all with, real trees. I think there's about 1,000 indoor trees in this project. So you also get this sense of being outdoors and indoors at the same time. And I think what makes Therme really unique is, well, many things, but I think two things in particular is scale. The fact that this is a place that a whole metropolitan area region can gather together. Our projects have 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 lockers, at a time. And also it's an experience for all ages. So while one area of our project is more for adults and, might be a little more similar to, a spa experience in that respect, there's another area of the project that is really for families. And also has wellness attractions for families. So you can go bathing as a family, you can go into a steam room as a family. And I think having that place where everyone can come together, and I know this is also the history of sauna as a family gathering place, I think is something really special that we're trying to bring back, not, adults by themselves, sitting in a bathrobe all alone. Here's just a little bit of data from our projects in Europe, just showing how wide-ranging, the visitation is. Almost everyone is coming in a group. It's a very social experience, and I think that's part of also what brings this panel together, is we're all committed to the idea of sauna as a social space and not a box where you sit by yourself. And another thing that we're really interested in is how we can integrate immersive and sort of technologically enabled experiences into sauna and bathing environments. Now, a lot of our saunas are going to be more traditional with wood. And I think there's a beauty to that, but I think there's also an opportunity to create these multi-sensory environments. These are just some of the artists and art projects that we've worked with in recent years. So as I mentioned, we have 6 operational facilities. We've been going since the late 90s. And my job, along with my colleagues at Therme US, is to bring this large-scale bathing experience to the US. And one of the things that I thought when I started this job is, we're bringing something foreign into America, and Americans don't know anything about this, and they're so behind. And, there's this wonderful world of bathing that is yet to be discovered. And one of the things that's fascinating, as with almost any preconception, is once you dig into it, you realize there's a whole amazing history of bathing in the US, whether it's the Sutro baths in San Francisco, which at one point were the biggest bathing attraction in the world, I think with about 4,000 people visiting, or whether it's Saratoga Springs, where, FDR used to go recuperate in upstate New York. There is a really rich history of bathing in America. It's been a bit lost, I think, in the past 40, 50 years. And I think what's exciting and what I want to talk about with our panel today is how we can, evolve, but also look back to some of those lost traditions. And I would also say, I think there's aspects of American culture that, completely connect to principles of bathing and sauna. There's a focus on fitness and on health that has always been a part of American culture, and sort of this idea of optimization and wellness. There's an incredible ethnic diversity, obviously, in the US, which means people are very open, I think, to new cultures, new ideas, experimenting with, something that they see their neighbors doing that might not be how they grew up, but is very intriguing. And I also think there's just a love in this country for being together and for entertainment and for, being by the pool. And, even though a sauna might to some people feel a bit remote, it's not that different in some ways to going to the beach or going to someone's pool. What's better is it's something you can do all year round, right? Which is not something you can necessarily do with the beach, depending on where you live. So one last slide here is about 9 months ago, we announced a partnership with the mayor of DC to bring a Therme to the nation's capital. I'm actually dialing in from DC today, where we're organizing some programming tonight. And I think what was exciting is that Mayor Bowser really understood the potential of something like a bathing resort to not just be a tourist attraction, but actually be something that was really important for residents. And I think this is what sets all of the work that we're doing apart from many other kinds of visitor attractions, is these are not just tourist attractions or something you go once and don't go again, but they are also community assets and community infrastructure. So I hope that's something we can also discuss together. So enough from me. Let's get straight into it. I want to hear from each of our panelists to kick off the discussion. What was the aha moment, the eureka moment, when you decided this whole sauna thing, this could really work in the US? Jennifer, why don't we start with you?
Well, that goes right back to Resorts World. It was absolutely my aha moment. I was fascinated by the fact that I did not know enough about the sauna culture. And so diving in and then being an operator, seeing the results of people coming in and experiencing sauna in a very different way. Because Las Vegas, I wouldn't say is a place where people go, oh, I want to go there just for sauna right now. So they get pleasantly surprised by the spa facility offerings. And so and the innovation that I was able to bring into it in terms of it really being giving it a sense of place, that it's Las Vegas, and there's an element of entertainment that comes with it. And so it's been a pleasant surprise. But the history, the culture, and then the personal benefits that I've found as well have been really what's been amazing for me.
Amazing. How about you, Justin? I think I may have heard what your eureka moment was, but tell the group.
Well, I have an interesting history of this because I grew up in these spaces. This was never new to me. I can't remember my first sauna. I was just a little kid and a little baby. But it was always family pastime. It was always a gathering space for my family. And so it actually took me going to the homeland. I was spending some time in Finland, seeing family. And there I got in this little rowboat with a Finnish man, and he rowed me out and left me on a raft to sauna and swim and sauna and swim. And that was the day, this was over a decade ago, on the Baltic Sea, that I thought, this could really work. This could work as a business, and we could get more people into this than just people with last names like me and people who pronounce sauna the way I pronounce it. And so for me, part of the goal is actually that opening the door wider without losing the quality, but really saying, hey, America's full of stressed out people. The sauna solves that in every single way. I always leave lighter and more refreshed and less stressful when I'm exiting the sauna. That's the thing we're trying to introduce to folks. So the aha moment was floating on the Baltic many, many moons ago.
Amazing. How about you, Leo? What was your moment of realizing this could work on a bigger scale?
Well, I was designing one of my last museums, and I was always on consistent travel back and forth to Europe, and I was always sleepy because of the time difference. And I was trying to find a remedy, how you can, keep yourself. I mean, you can drink coffee all day, but then my friends recommended me to go to sauna more often and sort of like study how it reflects on me, and that really woke me up. And I thought, like, in New York we have everything, like, so why the variety of the bathhouses is so limited? We wanted to bring, like, how about bringing the concept of everything in one place, or at least the most popular in one place, and see. And then we started this research, and then, sort of like one by one, we understood that there are so many people interested here, and, the line is growing.
That's great. Well, one of the things I wanted to talk about was how sauna culture varies in different parts of the country. And one of the reasons I invited the three of you is I think each of you represents maybe a slightly different variant or tradition of how sauna is evolving in the US. And, if you look at sauna across the world, they often respond to their environments, whether it's, the hammam in a hotter environment or the sauna in a colder environment. And often these sauna facilities are really integrated with their natural surroundings or with sort of what's around them. So I wanted to ask you, Justin, you're in a part of the country that's cold a lot of the year. How does that inform your approach? How do you respond to the landscape? And I guess, why do you call Duluth the sauna capsule of America?
Yeah, well, first, I don't believe that sauna is a seasonal sport. So I'm up north and it's cold a lot and there's snow outside and all those things. But this is an experience and expression that people have practiced in lots of temperatures when the weather is warm or cold, and in lots of places around the world. And so I would say we need to be specific when we use this word sauna or sauna, because we are talking about a Finnish tradition of this sort of broader cultural tradition of thermic bathing, which we've already heard a bunch of different words of today. We've heard banyo, we've heard aufgus, we've seen the baths that Therme has done. And so humans, this is a human act to use heat and cold for our health and our wellness. Now, for me, when I think about Duluth specifically in the upper Midwest, you know, this is a spot where we had a lot of Finnish immigrants 100 years ago, a lot of Nordic immigrants 100 years ago. And so a little town like the one I'm in had, at that time, 8 to 10 public saunas and bathhouses. It had more Finnish people than anywhere else in the US. And so historically, to me, that I think we got some roots in the ground to be the sauna capital of North America. But that is honoring a very specific tradition. And that's not looking at, well, hey, the biggest bathhouse in the world was at the Sutro Baths also in the early 1900s. So for me, I think we actually need to do some history lessons here. The US especially has a deep bathing culture, but that over time did what most things in the US do. It got more and more personalized. I see Chris commenting in here, as most Americans have actually done this thing at home or at a gym or at a hotel, not in a sort of public sphere, not in this European expression, not in a way that you get to do that at World Spa with Leo and the crew there, of all of these bathing traditions under one roof. So to kind of kick things off, Adam, I think that's the history as it came here through a lot of folks, whether they were Native American sweat lodges or immigrants coming to the US, bringing their bathing traditions. And then over time, America did that thing of it, made the good cultural gifts very convenient and easy. You know, McDonald's food, it's always convenient and easy and quick. That's the kind of thing that I think happened. We're seeing a revival, in my opinion, of good, true forms of that. I'd be interested to hear what Jennifer and Leo have to sort of say around those kinds of things, because you're drawing on all those deep and robust traditions. Jennifer, what do you think on that? You really imported a lot of tradition and then now enculturated it for a Vegas audience.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I do want to point out that Las Vegas really is a spa capital of the world. We have over 45 spas right here on Las Vegas Boulevard, and it's only a 3 to 5 mile stretch of casinos and hotels, but it's become part of a hospitality programming experience. And for many years, it was copy paste on the strip, where it was like, okay, we have to have a spa and it has to be a separate men's side and a women's side, and it needs a steam room and a sauna and a cold or and a vitality pool. And now we're evolving where these are becoming destinations and choices. So I'm not only seeing my hotel guests that are staying here at the Fontainebleau, but this is an aspirational spa visit for people that are staying at other hotels down the street, because we're the newest and latest and greatest, and have all of the offerings, which includes that contrast bathing experience. We have a cold plunge, where we have a beautiful snow shower as well, so the guests can go in and get snowed on right there, as well as they're starting to cool off to start that cycle again. So yeah, for us, it's very much been about introducing the sauna culture through the spa experience in a hospitality hotel setting.
Well, what's interesting about Vegas is there is also sort of a legacy of hot springs around the area as well, natural hot springs that you can visit. Has that informed your approach to the design, or how you're thinking about what a Vegas?
Not so much. I would say if anything in the locale, it would be, we have a lot of Native American land and indigenous people here that we have had sweat lodges for forever. And so, yeah, I think if anything, that's been a source of inspiration for us here in the desert. And it's really about that transformation that happens in a sauna, that you come in one way and you come out another way. And that's very much the objective in a lot of sweat lodge and Native American experiences.
And can you tell us a little bit more about how you're reimagining the Aufguss experience? I know you've got some Cirque du Soleil dancers, and you're kind of bringing something distinctly Vegas into that tradition as well, which is already quite theatrical. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So there is definitely a very theatrical element to it. And as I mentioned, while there, one of them was a beautiful high diver in the La Rev show, and the other one is a gorgeous dancer and has all of these beautiful experiences. But they also have a strong background in wellness. So they introduce breath work. They introduce different types of meditative type experiences as well, not just the entertainment, but they talk them through the experience, because we really are educating guests that have never seen or done anything like this before. So we teach them about the tradition coming through. And you're talking about, I'm seeing close to 300 guests a day in my spa right now, and they're all first-time goers. We have some repeat guests already because they love it so much, but they're first-time goers. So we're starting to educate them about this sauna culture, how to enter, how to use a towel to sit on, not to bring water into the sauna, not to bring a cold towel. I'll tell you, when I first started, that used to crack me up. People thought that they were going camping. I got to grab a cold towel and I got to get water to go into the sauna. And I felt like that was such an American thing to do, because I was like, you're only in there for 15 minutes. And if you need to, you can step out, but please don't take the water in. Please don't take the cold towels in. This is all part of the process of heating the body and not trying to cool it down while you're heating it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think one of the interesting things about Aufguss is because it brings that entertainment element, it makes it maybe a little bit more accessible for people who have never really experienced an authentic sauna. And so it makes the time go by a little bit quicker. There's like a curiosity aspect to it, something they've never seen before. And I think in many ways, what's exciting about what you're doing is it can be like a gateway into understanding there's a much richer world of sauna and sauna type experiences that you could have.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the bonding that comes from strangers that come out of that experience, because they look at each other and they're like, wow, I've never seen anything like this. I've never experienced anything like this. Are you going to go in the cold plunge now? So they, strangers become friends very quickly in a sauna, as many of you know, regardless of whether it's in Las Vegas or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Leo, I wanted to ask you about, how World Spa responds to a New York, approach to wellness. And one of the things that I think, is an immediate connection I see is New York is really a melting pot, a cultural melting pot. And you've produced, a facility that kind of captures that multicultural aspect of what it is to be in New York. But I'm curious, how else do you see, your concept responding to that local environment?
Yeah, it's quite interesting the way it reflects. And I was just about to mention that it is a melting pot to start with. So yeah, we got more than, we're just 1 year old, and we got more than 100,000 visitors. And the way people react, a lot of people are first comers and they just expect a spa. That's we have a lot of like female crowds coming in. That's something that we actually didn't expect to happen in Brooklyn, but we are pleased and happy to see everybody because it's so beautiful, and it's just like in general, amazing time together. So the way they, I see a lot of curiosity and I see a lot of acceptance, and that's what I think is very special and specific to American sauna culture. Because I've been traveling in different parts of the world, Nordic, Eastern Europe, Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, and other places. And you know what's different there? And I don't want, it's sort of like my personal opinion there, but people are very snobby. They say like, they know exactly how to do things. They say like, you go and do that. Or you use, let's say, Plaza, and you have to add more water, you have to breathe certain ways. They basically all the time, people share, but in a very pushy way, like, you're doing it incorrectly, yeah, and things like that. And that's is not something like really welcoming in a way. You sort of like follow the direction or accept it. But that's the last thing we actually want to, in a way. So the way people who are coming to our place, they're so open. They really want to get this, process it, convert it, and sense it with the largest organ in their body, which is their skin, and enjoy it, and then pick from the menu. And we have like so many cabins. So I see how they're coming back. Some of them already been here dozens of times. And I see how they enjoy it in a very personal way. Like, the sequence of, like, are they starting with hammams? Do they go first to saunas, or they go to banyas, or they think it's all the same thing? We have this very specific schedule of events, we call them, which are in a way educational performances. They are not Augustus, but they can be. That's where our Veniki or the Plaza professionals show their skills and show different kind of tricks. And for most of the people, it's it's the first time. They don't understand. They think they'll be bitten with branches, things like that. They are so surprised and happy to feel that it's such a gentle treatment, comparing to what you actually see when you look at it. So things like that open people up, and I think we sort of like live in this post-COVID renaissance where people have to trigger, they need something to help them to start socializing a lot more, and in New York specifically, and that's amazing to see, and that's the best sort of thank you for me when I'm stepping out from my office, which is next door to the World Spa, and just stepping on the and going to the floor and see how people reflect on each cabin. They're so curious. They read all these tablets that we installed with the explaining the temperatures and benefits of each. That comes from sort of like my museum background, where I'm trying to explain everything, and I thought that nobody will read them, but people do, and they sort of like react on them, and they want more. And we're now pushing this system where our staff will be creating those journeys and moving this groups based on what they want, like a energy boost or stress release or other. And I think this is something that we can educate the local the visitors and guests, and see how they will enjoy it more.
Leo, I want to comment on this, because I think this big question of, does America have a sauna culture, I think hinges hugely on this thing that Leo just said. There are places in the world where it's so in the culture that it doesn't have to be spoken or taught. You've had it being given to you almost by osmosis through your family and your community. And I think that in the US is only in pockets.
Mhm.
That is not widespread. And the people in this room, part of the goal is actually getting it and teaching it and inviting people who have never experienced those pockets. Now, we've got a lot of people in the chat, and this is due to wonderful history with the Finlandia Foundation and supporting these cultural traditions through Finnish heritage, Finnish American heritage, and expats. But when we think about sauna culture, when it's in the culture, it's in the water. You almost don't talk about it, you just do it, you know it. And you walk through those paces. So much of the work that you talked about there, Leo, is just like what we're doing. We're inviting people in to learn about the process of sauna, the ritual of sauna: hot, cold, rest, rehydrate, and repeat. And then there's variations on that. And so I'd be interested in, maybe I'm arguing against, I do think America has a sauna culture, but what's happening is it's really growing, and it's getting to more people than it ever has, in my opinion. Maybe even saying it's really needed right now. And maybe that's my push on this, is like, we're actually in the most stressed out time in the world. We're digitizing our lives, and it's not relaxing us. It's not helping us go through the day. It's not helping us connect with real people. But Adam, you've kind of hit it home. That's actually what happens in the sauna. these big communal bathing spaces, not just private spaces.
Well, I think what's really, really interesting is exactly this theme that both of you are touching on. I think the opportunity in the US is because people don't have as many preconceptions, as much baggage about what makes a sauna and what doesn't, what makes a sauna and what doesn't. I think there's an opportunity for that innovation, for new concepts to emerge, new ideas, new ways of performing, new ways of experiencing. But I know we have a lot of questions in the chat, so why don't we actually see what we've got in here? And it looks like Steve has a question. In locations where there are a lot of Finnish Americans or native Finns who have access to personal saunas, is it difficult to attract them to public saunas? So that might be a question more for Justin.
Yeah, Steve's an old friend, so he's giving me a layup here, I think, just handing it off to me. I actually think in places like what I'm talking about here in Duluth, around the Great Lakes, maybe places throughout the country that have some of these Nordic or cultural backgrounds, either these traditions have persisted. You go to New York and not just World Spa, you see the Russian and Turkish baths, like there is access for that. I think to the Finnish point, that went very sort of private throughout the years. That specific cultural group, we came over with public sauna. It went to the farm. The sauna was often built first, and then it went to people's homes and then to their cabins. So a lot of the Finnish American people in my life, they actually don't come visit me or our facilities. They go do that at home. And that's okay. But more and more, I think there are more people discovering you can have a kitchen at home and you can also go out to eat every now and then. And I'd say that's the thing that we're sort of trying to invite people into, is these communal spaces are maybe even more nourishing, where there's sometimes where you want somebody to just make the meal for you. And when people understand it in that way, they think, oh, that's interesting. I want to go explore. I want to go to New York and visit Leo and taste the saunas there, in not a licking the benches sort of way, but in a like, I want to try them out. I want to have the experience. So that's my take on it, is yes, it's open to everybody. There's plenty of people who already have this in their life. They don't need extra support. But what I hope is that more people begin to use this regularly, because I actually believe in the value, the health benefits, the social and mental health benefits of it, all of those things that come with it.
So just a reminder to everyone, you can post a question in the Q&A slot. I see a question here. Are people going into the saunas naked? And this is actually something that we've been thinking a lot about, because our German resorts actually are nude. It's actually required to be naked. I think on a large scale, that's probably not going to work for the US, at least not the US right now, but who knows, maybe National Sauna Week 2030, you know, the culture's evolved and we're looking at it a different way. But I think one thing that's interesting to think about is whether, you know, we might explore things like men only or woman only hours, which is something that some sauna facilities are experimenting with. And I think could maybe induce, you know, more of that comfort around nudity, because in a way that is part of the wellness experience and that is part of reconnecting with yourself. I don't know if others have thoughts on the nudity question, or whether you've explored that.
We've tried
Not
that.
in Las Vegas.
No. Leonid, you were saying.
We've tried that a little, because we have a very, very religious community, Orthodox Jews, close to us, and they were insisting they wanted to have this because there is a tradition of and they want to come, but they cannot. So but they couldn't. Then we decided to open them like late evening hours, and about 150 only guys appeared, and we started to do it every Thursday. That is something very interesting, and we started to do certain days for the ladies. Well, they're interesting enough that actually they are a lot less limited. They can, even Rabbi allows them to come in the regular hours. The ladies.
Jennifer, did you want to add anything else on that?
No, other than the fact that, yeah, I think that would be a tough sell here in Las Vegas. It would probably transform my space tremendously if we didn't require swimwear. just because of the vast difference of people that come to Vegas and the reasons they come here and all the extra indulgences and stuff that they do. But I do want to just take a quick moment because somebody commented earlier about what is the Aufguss, and the Aufguss is the German, it's a German word for infusion, and it's the infusion of the heat with the aromatherapy infused ice balls. And then there's an event to it. So the sauna meisters guide them through waving the towels to move the heat and the aroma around the room, adding the water to the stove, and entertaining them, if you will. And not only moving the heat from the top down, but also, you know, keeping an eye on the guests that might be new to sauna, but having ways to use that towel to move the cooler air up. If we see somebody's kind of getting a little lightheaded or anything, we can also do that with them. But it is an event experience that we offer in addition to just the open sauna seating.
So I see a number of really interesting questions here, but I actually wanted to take one moment and see if any of the panelists had questions for each other. Leo, Jennifer, Justin, is there anything that you want to hear from your co-panelists, some questions that you've been burning to ask them?
Oh, you've been waiting for that sauna pun for a long time, the old burning to ask, haven't you, Adam? Leo, I want to ask about design, because I design alongside you. I geek out about materials and all those things. Can you maybe comment on how difficult it was to build the thing that you built in the US? And I'm also teeing up for, there's some people asking about access, and I think it's really important, but you're in a litigious land, that being the US, and you're in New York City, which is hard to build in and get these things done. Can you just maybe talk for a moment about how it was, what it was like to sort of spec out all these types of things as somebody with an architectural background like you?
It was insane. Let's say dealing with the Department of Buildings and especially Department of Health was a separate pleasure. But they've been open as well. They ruined certain ideas, especially around the pools, because that was their main concern. And right now, I'm actually saying thank you for doing that, because they simplified my life, and the pools are still look good, and all these extra features that we decided to get there were absolutely unnecessary in a way. I don't know how they knew better. But going about the saunas, we decided to sort of to work with international teams and bring sort of the knowledge of let's say from Russia, Ukraine, and different Nordic countries. We decided to let them sort of tell us what's the best, and material wise, and then sort of like I use my architectural and designers' common sense to sort of convert it to, let's say, to the local acceptance sort of visually. And so there were a lot of our, as a client team here, reflecting of whatever they were sending us, and not only designing but also building too. And I was surprised with the amount of materials available, because in a way, and you know what I'm talking about, there are so few real woods that are used, and in the saunas you breathe it. It's something that is so crucial. If you build it right, like we use this callow wood, like quite a few people in the United States actually know what it is. While it should be available probably from Canada, but it is only available from Finland and Russia. And it is a pine that's been standing in the swamp dead for 120 years, drying, crystallizing, and then turning into this foamy, very light material that if you place it in the banyas or saunas, well, mostly banyas, because that's where you need humidity, and apply water on it, that reflects such an interesting aroma. If you close your eyes and you're in the right mood, you feel like you're in the middle of the wood, and like in the forest. And if you add a certain other aromas to it, it just turns you into a different kind of human. So the collection and specs of materials was like, I know I still have so many books on my desk, like from like, you know, some famous authors, and you know, like you probably know some of them, and they helped a lot. But listening to real craftsmanship from outside the country, and then basically after COVID, we received or at the COVID time, we received 12 containers of different saunas from around the world, and we assembled them back here. If that answers.
Well, one of the things I love about visiting WorldSpa, Leo, is it's kind of like a journey around the world through the woods. And as you go in different spaces, there's different kinds of wood, and it does give you a sense of traveling as well, which I think is really incredible. Leo,
that's what we call journeys. Yes,
journeys. Yeah. Do you have any questions, Leo or Jennifer, for your other panelists?
Well, I'm really curious actually to come and see it, like, because I really want to see this real August, like the way it is, because I've seen some videos, because people shoot videos and they post them, so I've seen how it works there, but I really want to try it myself. And I see all this amazing components in the ceilings that create this light, and this very entertaining, which I think will actually help the crowds to accept it, and not only in Vegas, but in many other places. So my main question is, like, what's your favorite places in your projects? What's your what you like the most there where you are?
For me, yeah, here in Las Vegas, it's definitely been the saunas. So I took a deep dive and went to Europe because we actually don't manufacture anything really good here. And you know that as developers, right? The best stoves, the best wood, everything really comes, for me, in my experience, has come out of Europe. So I would say it's absolutely the sauna experience, introducing something new in the same way that it was so new to me as a regular spa goer to come in and experience this and to do it and share it with people. Because I think there's also been an evolution in the way that people spa. From what I've seen, it was more of a personal experience, and now they're starting to share it more and more here in the US, is what I've seen, that we do see people coming in groups of 2 to 5 to 6 to 8 at a time, which creates a really interesting atmosphere in a spa setting. And so that's also fun, because there are still the people that come for the Zen experience, but then you have a group of 6 or 8 people that are there to really share the experience together.
Amazing.
Justin, you want to jump
What
in?
about you, Justin?
Well, I just want to comment that, Jennifer, don't worry, we're trying to change that all the good things don't have to come over oceans for what it's worth. And I think there is some really interesting American-made sauna design and construction happening. One of my favorite things, Leo, is I told a story earlier of having an idea while on a floating sauna in Finland, and now we got to do that this year. We opened one of the US's first publicly accessible floating saunas. Somebody might have a lake property where they put a little barrel on a pontoon boat at one point. But the goal of that for me is like this, such a full circle moment of actually being so connected. Sauna to me is connected to nature. It's always the timber from the land, the rocks from the soil, the fresh water from nearby. And actually getting to be on the water for that is just so wonderful. And for us, one of those moments, especially being on the Great Lakes, and I heard a couple of these people commenting about cold plunge in the Great Lakes in the chat. The water up here is always cold. We don't need cold plunging and filtered water to get cold water up here in this part of the country. So that's one of my favorite things. It's a recent one, but everybody's got an invite. Come up and visit. Come up and join us.
Well, I see a lot of really great questions left in the chat, and also an instruction from Tommy to wrap things up in about 10 minutes. So I'm actually going to cherry pick what was, I thought, a really interesting question a little earlier about publicly accessible and publicly even operated saunas. So a question was, do you see a future in which sauna is publicly offered by the city and not by private businesses? One thing I should say that I found really fascinating about this journey is in many parts of Europe, especially Northern Europe, these kinds of facilities are completely integrated into the healthcare system. So you can get reimbursed for a visit to a thermal bathing or a sauna facility if you're recovering from a surgery, if you're recovering from some kind of joint issue or, you know, an injury. And, you know, that's how we're thinking about Therme in the US as well. The reason we want to build these projects so big is because it's a volume business. And the bigger you build it, the cheaper you can actually offer the ticket as you're able to welcome more and more people. And we really are committed to, you know, we're exploring pricing starting at $40 or $50 a visit. That's really on par with, you know, the most affordable saunas in the US currently. And we're also looking at partnerships with municipalities for discounted pricing so that seniors or athletic groups in a community or others could receive some kind of preferential access, because I think that's also the way to grow this culture and grow this movement and shift people's perception away from this being a luxury activity and something that is much more community oriented. But I'm curious if others on the panel have ideas on that question.
I'll maybe comment briefly. I think that I really hope that America can get there to this sort of egalitarian, highly accessible version of sauna. But I actually think it needs volume, like you said, Adam. And I think we're at the early stages of modern American culture understanding sauna for the first time. And so what I want to sort of challenge back to when people say it's so expensive is, and yet, what if these businesses create jobs in your community? What if these businesses actually are around for decades? The long-term impact of that is positive. It's economic growth. It's the things that you guys, Adam, are talking about for DC. And to get actually more accessible price points, I think it's a volume thing personally. It's for us, if people show up to Duluth once on vacation, they're going to pay a premium price versus the folks who buy a membership to us and come very often. Now, I'm going to push back because I'm Finnish American, okay? I only get to do this because I grew up with people like this in my life. Sauna was given to you for free, and somebody spent thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours to make that accessible for you. So to go from free your whole life to paying a little bit for it can feel odd to some folks. And then you can go to some parts of Europe and there's so much of it that it can be very cheap. I just don't think we're there yet in the US. I think we need more people to understand this. We need more people like Leo inviting 100,000 people a year. I need more people like Jennifer, 300 people a day, to at least get the training wheels, to at least understand it so that we can do this in more areas and make it, the costs come down. We just aren't there yet in some ways, but I want to get there.
That's
agreed.
Yeah.
And actually, yeah, I think it's the main challenge actually is to build it right at the same time and make it affordable. That's for that we have to create this presence and sort of like calculations, because in the way we did it, and we were trying to hire a lot of consultants from the field, but they were mostly consultants who are dealing with the hotels. They don't understand the business or whatever, how the spas work. They always think that it's a luxury component that makes no profit, but you know, you get the profits from the rooms, and there it's just an amazing feature, which is necessity, which is something that you don't want as a consultant. I'm just saying. But based on what we have right now, what we see, like the dynamics, the seasons, what brings people in, how you can, you know, we really open to make it a little more affordable, or a lot more affordable. And I hope it's the future, because it should be available for everybody. And if the insurances will kick in and start reimburse certain percentage even, that will be a dream. And I think we deserve it as people who pay high for insurance in the United States.
Jennifer, how about you? Do you see any repeat visitors, or is it almost exclusively one time?
Well, Vegas is unique that way. Most people come to Vegas once a year. There is a contingency though, especially our gaming customer, that will come several times a year. And, you know, and we also have lots of great, you know, we've had the F1, we had Super Bowl here. So I imagine some of these people that came for these big events will also be coming back again at some point in the year. as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm unique in the sense that I'm in a luxury spa within a hospitality setting, and this is part of the overall experience that they plan when they come to Vegas. So for a little sticker shock, my 4-hour spa experience is $150 to access the facilities. Now, mind you, if you get a spa treatment, you're looking a little over $200, and that gains you access as well. But the reality is that, you know, this is, and that's part of the Off Goose experience is creating an event around people coming to spend their 4 hours with us. Yeah.
Well, I think we're almost at time, and I see a caps lock warning from Tommy in the thread there. So I'm going to ask you all one last very quick question, which is, what's your vision of sauna in the US in 5 years? When we regroup for Sauna Week 2029, what do you hope will have changed by then? What do you hope to have accomplished? I hope we'll have our first Therme facility, or maybe a couple up and running. That's for my part. How about you, Leo? What's your vision for sauna in 5 years?
I would like to see a huge variety of business, and the way in New York it's happening, and there are more and more businesses entering in. I know it's competition for us, but in the challenge, and the challenges are good. They keep us in a good shape. So I see a lot of that variety, and I see a lot of people talking about it, like, you know, like in Iceland, when they travel, they go and they just describe to each other those amazing experiences. I see that happening.
How about you, Jennifer?
I think that longevity is such a big word for people, and they recognize that this could be a gateway in terms of the contrast bathing. So I see in the next 5 years the democratization of sauna and contrast bathing, and maybe some more membership modeled places where people come in, they do 25 minutes in the morning of their sauna, their cold plunge, and then they start their day, and it's a membership modeled business.
That's great. How about you, Justin?
I want the future of North American sauna to be also known for quality. And I think that sometimes what we see happen is quick and easy and convenient at the expense of quality. And if we do it right, I think what's going to happen is like what happened in craft brewing and yoga over the last 10 years, is it started to happen in every neighborhood and in every city. And this isn't just one big spa in each city. It's neighborhood based, it's connected, and it's hopefully deeply quality and informed by tradition, as opposed to sort of a cultural appropriation of all these world's traditions. You know, what I love about what Leo's done is he's looked over the world and he's learned from them, he's brought them in to sort of inform the design, not just say, how do we make it look kind of like what they do over there? And so that would be something I deeply hope for in the future of American sauna culture. And I'm thinking in decades. I'm here with it. I can't wait to join you in 5 years. Tommy, will you have us in 5 years to do a recap? Look at that handoff, Tommy, right back to you here, because you got to close us out.
Wow. I want everyone to know that was unpracticed. That just happened.
Well, yeah, why don't we wrap it up? I know we're at time, but yeah, thank you all to all the panelists. And Justin, I thought that was a great last word. I mean, I think one of the things that's really exciting is the opportunity here is very big, you know, whether to, you know, evolve American sauna culture, bring back American sauna culture, reinvent it. And I think there's opportunities for so many different scales of businesses and experiences in so many different kinds of environments. And ultimately, you know, America's big, diverse, and there are a lot of ideas. And I think, you know, the future is very bright. So, Tommy, back to you.
Thank you so much. I want to just ask Alexi if she had any final comments, wrapping up words here on this fantastic panel.
Yeah, just first of all, thank you so much to Adam, Jennifer, Leo, and Justin. I know this was really illuminating for me and also brought me back to my sauna experiences in the US and elsewhere, in the Korean spa, which is my nearest kind of sauna-like thing to me here in the Seattle area. It also made me think of the phrase hike your own hike, which I hear a lot in the kind of like through hiking community. Maybe it's take your own sauna, right? That there's this emphasis on community, but really not trying to kind of gatekeep how you do it and really introducing it as a welcoming space. So loved those takeaways.
Fantastic, Lexi. Thank you so much. And thank you to this panel. I feel like in some ways, this might have been the first sauna forum we had. I mean, you guys really pushed into a new conversation around sauna and bathing culture, which I think is so, needed in this space. I mean, we have an audience here who's very familiar with Finnish sauna, and I think that we looked in a lot of directions on how differently this can look. And I think you're all experts in your field, and I think you're all doing different and yet connected things. And I really thank you for being here. So huge applause to you. Hope to see some of you back here next year. Thanks again, everybody. And as promised, we want to leave you with our Sauna Week theme song that we have featured and premiering here for National Sauna Week. And you may see some people that you're familiar with from the Finnish Finnish entertainment scene. So we're going to pull that up for you to enjoy on your way out. And thank you all for being here, and happy Sauna Week.
If you wanna make friends in Finland, you gotta put on your birthday suit and let your hair down, cause we don't play around. We've been chilling in the heat, listening to the sound of the kiuas. So throw in some löylyä lisää. Tervetuloa saunaan sisään. Get your butt on the seat. Keep your distance.
Please let me show you how my Finnish heart rings. This is my nature, just hear the kiuas sing. In the sauna there's no ego, we're all the same. If it feels too hot for you, don't be afraid. So join me, drop your clothes and grab the löylykoha. In our sauna, find your peace, find your rauha. In the sauna, in the sauna, in the sauna.
Let's go through the sauna basics, let's face it, it sounds kinda crazy. Kiuas, we throw water on the rocks. It can be electric or heated with some logs. Löyly, that's the steam coming up, that's the spirit of sauna.
Did you mean sauna?
Yeah, well, call it what you want.
Banya, hammam, Korean spa.
Please let me show you how my Finnish heart rings. This is my nature, just hear the kiuas sing. In a sauna there's no ego, we're all the same. If it gets too hot for you, don't be afraid. So join me, drop your clothes and grab the löylykoha. In our sauna, find your peace, find your rauha. In the sauna, in the sauna, in the
As we sit
sauna.
in the heat and you're sitting next to me, we gonna keep it real, say it like it is. Finns take a sauna almost every day. There are no rules, just do your way.
Please let me show you how my Finnish heart rings. This is my nature, just hear the kiuas sing. In a sauna there's no ego, we're all the same. If it gets too hot for you, don't be afraid. In a sauna,